Here you see a New York man. He's been arrested after shooting a BB gun and bullets at a Jewish father and his son outside of that store there. The victims were outside of a kosher grocery store in Staten Island, and they were in yarmulkes at the time of the attack. The father was hit in the chest, and his 7-year-old son was hit in the ear. Jesus. The family was treated by paramedics, and they had only some minor injuries there. But of course, look at this, immediately attending to his son, who has no idea what's happening now, as a drive-by happens. He's been arrested and charged with this hate crime. His name is Jason Kish. He's 25 years old, he's from Staten Island as well. He was charged with assault as a hate crime, endangering the welfare of a child, reckless endangerment, and assault in connection with the incident that was on Sunday afternoon. The New York City police said this. Here's a picture of this piece of garbage. Cool guy. Let me go out and shoot some children, and his father coming out of a store, because that makes me a badass somehow. I talked about this yesterday on TDR. What's the end game? Did he go home then and go, nailed it, job well done, that'll show him I feel better, let me go have some lunch? What's the end game? You feel good now? Like whatever fly on the wall that followed him, was he proud? Either way it goes. Maybe he took that stupid ass picture afterwards. The father spoke about this whole thing to the New York Daily News about this attack. And he said, it was definitely a targeted attack because I saw him coming very slowly and super slow, Isaac Klein said. He said, hitting me and my son, a direct hit. That incident left 7-year-old Alexander traumatized, as you could only imagine. Here's the heartbreaking part about this whole thing and the things that people don't pay attention to when they say hateful things. He didn't sleep that night, is what Klein said. He kept repeating himself. Like if it would have been a real gun, he'd be dead. The 7-year-old kid is saying to himself as he couldn't sleep after being attacked like this for who he is. It wasn't the first time that the family's fallen victim to an anti-Semitic attack in recent months, though, so that's even more trauma. Down the street from their Staten Island home this past summer, a group of kids drove by Klein and his wife and yelled, "F you Jews." Again, did they then go home and go, good job? That shows them now they'll do what? Not exist? Because that's the next step. We know how this works, because what's next for them? A little bit more, because Mayor Eric Adams of New York, he held a press conference after the arrest of the shooter to talk about how horrific this was and how this has to end. Let's watch.
The police can't do it alone. When we say see something, say something, we want do something. And the community using technology and using just straight up, I want to participate in making my community safe. We have a person that committed a crime that is brought to justice. And then you have to think about the impact of this. No severe energy, but emotionally the severity is real. When you're walking the streets, as I walk the streets with my son and engage in conversations, or just take this trip to a local grocery store and we're able to exchange conversations of whatever we want to discuss at a time, that young man would never walk that street again without thinking about that incident.
Absolutely, 100%. And for folks who are tired of people talking about yay and tired of talking about these anti-Semites and tired of talking about these bigots, these LGBTQ hateful people, these racists, why do you guys keep talking about these horrible people? You're promoting them. They're being promoted within the circles of people who like to do things like this and even more horrifically start to murder folks as well. And this is what many politicians then ignore as we've seen the numbers change. Here's some of those numbers. According to the NYPD, there have been 571 hate crimes reported so far this year, up from 495 during the same period last year. It's a 15.4% jump. And of those, there have been 278 anti-Semitic attacks so far this year, compared to 182 at the same time last year. A 52.7 jump is what those stats show, Miranda. So politicians will talk about the rise in crime in the country when they want to win elections, but will they talk about the rise in domestic terror? Will they talk about the rise in these hate crimes? No, because those are their voters.
Yeah, I feel like I do a story on something like this practically almost every day now. And I feel like I've turned into a broken record, just repeating the same messages over and over. And while, yes, see something, say something, that is true. And if you see something, you should say something that does help. But it's not on the people, it's on the leaders. We have leaders and politicians and voices in media who are doing nothing or actively causing harm by spreading hateful or false messaging. Yeah, why do we keep talking about Ye? Why do you keep talking about these people? They already have a platform. Ye, you think that us talking about Ye on TYT is going to give him a platform? He already has a massive platform. We're providing balance and we're providing truth. And if we don't, things like this are just going to keep happening. We're providing what you need to hear about the story that's real. And it's up over 50% in the last month. That is a huge number. That is a massive statistic. It's just getting worse and it's snowballing down a hill.
And the thing is, the combating these types of mindsets, and people say, "Oh, how dare you say this type of stuff?" or "Don't bring them up." You'll see the numbers happen that way. So there's what else can you refer to see how this happens? Yeah, or we can't go back somehow. You think people and people who are looking for negative mindsets are trying to really gain power based off of negativity? You think that's something that people just don't employ anymore? It still happens. I think the combating of those ideas has to happen because it's the normalization of hate. There's been so much hate in our society in many different realms, focused on different people and different scenarios. But it's always based on them having that narrative of this being how normal things are. Back in the day, it was normal to just do certain things to certain minorities, and it still happens, but now people have to kind of hide it a little bit because of the pushback. The pushback needs to continue. I hope that family finds some kind of peace, man, because again, I wouldn't go to that store anymore.